Broadcasting from the creation of time to the end of the world. Buckle up, baby. This ain't your grandma's Christian show. It's time to get down and dirty on Change for That.
And welcome back to another episode of Change for That. I'm Chester Proctor.
I'm Kurt Tootle.
And I'm your favorite, Cedric Thrower.
And we are back here with you once again on another episode, and we're happy to have you with us. And I want to invite you to follow us on Facebook at Change for That, and also Twitter at Change for That, and at changeforthat.com. And as always, use the number 4. Well, guys, it's good to be back with you. First segment, we'll go right into our current event of the half hour. I was going to say of the hour, but our current event of the half hour. And we have something kind of just difficult to talk about, because what we're talking about is an issue that deals with life and death, and we don't want to come across as not being compassionate or sad or sympathetic towards the cause of the loss of a life. But we're talking about the Georgia Tech student who was shot by police in Atlanta on the Tech campus by Tech police. And that was back on Sunday, I guess, or Saturday night, early Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And he died. And if you aren't familiar with the story, then I don't know where you've been, because it's made headlines for a week now. But basically, the student was shot because he was protesting, had a knife. Police were called because he was out of control. Or for some reason he was dying. And I read a report that said the police called because of they suspected he had a gun. I don't know if that's true or not. That's one of the reports that I read. But nevertheless, he continued to move forward, continued to walk towards them in a threatening manner, and eventually one of the police officers fired a shot and killed him, and he died later at the hospital. So the issue here is kind of twofold. Is this another issue of police brutality or police, going wrong, or is this another issue of not following directions and being contrary to what you should do in order to protect yourself when you're dealing with somebody who has the authority over you?
I think that it's... Am I still muted? No. It looked like the light was on. But, no, there we go. Now I can hear myself.
I know. I don't wonder where you were.
But I think it's more of an issue of not doing what the police asked you to do, and I'm sure you'll speak to this a little bit later, Chester, because we were talking before the show. But had the police officers had tasers with them, I think that would have been a better option. But something that we have to understand is these officers are trained to shoot, not to wound, but to kill. And if you look at the video, I can count 14 separate times that the cop asked this young man to stop walking, to put the knife down, to try to calm this person down. And constantly the police are backing up in this video. And when someone tries that many times and you still refuse to do what you're told, there's obviously an issue there. And I know some of the comments on the Facebook post that you posted were, well, why couldn't they shoot to wound this person, shoot him in the leg? And we had is he still a cop? Still a police officer? I
don't know. He's got. Well, we had more than one.
Yeah.
Who had law enforcement background agree.
Yeah. But he spoke to the training that they have, and pretty much the one thing that kind of spoke to me anyways was they were trained in their statistics to back this up, that if you shoot even 2-3 times someone that's coming at you with a knife, they can still lunge forward and kind of bury that in your gut and kill you before you take them down. So the whole argument to me that it's a knife, not a gun, that's kind of blown out of the water with that to me. And I don't want to sound not sympathetic to this family, because this is a loss of a life, and that's tragic, and that's never what you want to happen. And the police officer in the video even said, "Nobody wants to hurt you. Please put the knife down." I mean, you can clearly hear him saying that. And our prayers are with the family. This is never what you want to see, but at the same time, do what the police officer is telling you to do. There's much less a chance of something like this happening if you just do what you're told.
I think that I'm going to plead the fifth on this topic.
You can't. The Fifth Amendment it deals with self-incrimination. You didn't do it.
I don't know. I might incriminate myself. But
what?
This is a very, as you may already know, this is a very touchy subject for me. For a couple
because of the affiliation with the student?
No, no, because of the police issue. I think that as we see more of this happening, that we will see a different outcome as to how we deal with police officers come in the future. Because, a lot of times people don't feel what you feel until it comes into their own home. And so, I hate to say it like that, but I got to speak from my own experiences in life, from my perspective. And I think that had it been someone of a different race, that they probably would not have been given so many opportunities to surrender the knife before eventually killing the person. So, I hate that it happened. I don't think that it should happen. But at the same time, like you said, I feel that you do need to obey the law. If you are requested by a police officer to do certain things, then you should do it. If you're innocent, you can prove it at another time because you'll live to do it. But
now you said about the you think this in this case you think that this young man would have been given more. You would think he'd be given less because if the police officer if he had been black, then he would have been given.
If he had been black or Muslim or
you believe that police officer that shot him was racist or prejudiced against everybody except white people?
I'm actually not saying that. What I'm saying is
that's kind of what you are saying, though. You're putting him into a category or
a female.
No, there was a man and a woman cop.
Right. I think the female shot him. But go ahead.
But by saying that, you're putting both of those officers, not knowing anything about them, into the category of they're racist.
Well, let me say this. I'm going to say out of all the police shootings that we have heard about in the last several years, you probably can count the number of times that this has happened to a white individual. And I really, this is why I felt like I probably should just skip this topic, because I don't want to be viewed as someone who just sees one side. I see all sides. I really do. I see both sides. But what I do see is that this happens less often. Okay? It happens less often than it does when it comes to other races or religious backgrounds or things of that nature.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about how this actually goes down, white versus black statistics. And I'll use the liberal-minded Snopes.com, which it has been proven to be left-leaning, okay, to be fair. The question that they...
But that wouldn't be fair if they're leaning to the left.
Well, because I lean more towards the right, is what I'm saying. So I'm not going to a right-wing website to say... I'm not going to... what's that guy's name?
I understand what you're saying.
But you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But anyhow, let's just say this is the question that they dealt with. It said... The claim is police shootings kill more white Americans than black Americans. Now, this is their rating. Their rating is a mixture of truth and false. The truth, they say in absolute numbers, more white people than black people are killed in police shootings. And they say that's because white people outnumber black people in America. They say what's false is that overall black Americans are several more times likely to be killed in police shootings than white Americans. But now here's my question. Is that a statistic? Or is that...
An opinion.
An opinion.
Yeah.
And they say what's false is that overall black Americans are several times. Well, that's false. This left-leaning website is saying that that's false. So they're saying what is true is that more white people than black people are killed in police shootings. So what we continue to hear is that more black people are killed by cops in America, but statistics don't. Because statistics don't bear that out. But when you turn around and listen to this, an analysis of police killings will, of course, show. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. That's the original. Let's see here. I want to make sure I give you the facts here. An analysis of the police killings will show that in absolute numbers, more white people are killed in police shootings than black people because non-Hispanic whites comprise roughly 5 times greater than greater share of the U.S. population, 62% versus 13%. So an analysis that is based on nothing more than absolute numbers does not take into demographics into account. They say it's inaccurate and misleading.
Yeah, because it goes by number of persons rather than percentage.
But, I mean, isn't that how we do everything, though? I mean, I'm not going to disagree that that's
I'm
not
just asking.
misleading, but isn't that how we do everything?
I mean, I would think so.
Because that's how
the
state, for example, the state will. I've always had a problem with this, but the state will take a school system like Toombs County, and they will, and if Toombs County, let's just say, had 50 students take the SAT, and they have a pass percentage rate, and then they'll take another school system, let's say Vidalia, and they had 150 kids take the take the
it'll be a
SAT.
percentage.
It'll be a pass percentage rate. Well, isn't that different? Well, they would say no, because you're taking a pool of, you're taking these kids versus these kids. It's still a percentage rate. I struggle mathematically. I struggle with that, but that's the way they report stuff. Now, here's the point. This is what I want to get at, and I'll let you respond. It may, I don't know. In absolute numbers, I don't know whether it's more blacks or more whites. What I think has to be understood is the media is going to report whatever gets them the most coverage. Mm-hmm. And right now, it doesn't matter if two whites do it or two blacks do it, you're not going to hear about it. I mean, look at the Chicago. Just Google Chicago statistics and how many black on blacks are killing people in Chicago, killing each other in Chicago right now. Mm-hmm. You can do it any given day and check out the high rate in that city.
But they're not reporting on that.
But they're not reporting on that because it's black on black crime, just like white on white crime. It's not as interesting. You see, this story here could not be a white on white cop killing a white student. They had to tie in the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer community, the LGBTQ, LMNOP, and they had to buy that. They had to combine that, or not combine it. They had to introduce it because they had to give him another side.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm not denying that blacks have been killed. Let me tell you what happened, what bothers me. I don't know. I don't know if it's happening now, okay, to the rate that media makes it out to. I don't know. But I do know that it happens, and that is blacks who are treated badly by white authority, okay? But we also have a history where we know that took place. So I'm not denying that was an issue, and that is still an issue. I'm not denying that at all. What I think the issue is that the media is wanting to spin every story so that they can get the most reaction. Well, if all we're hearing is that, then we're going to naturally form an opinion. And are we really forming an opinion based on fact or based on emotion and false or not telling the whole truth?
Well, I think also to give us a little bit of perspective into the original story, at Georgia Tech, the original call, it stated in the article that the call to the police, whoever called it in, stated that this individual also had a gun on them. So that can kind of give you some insight into what these officers were thinking going into this situation. Maybe he has a knife only, maybe he doesn't. But I think the ultimate tragedy here is that this is a win for Satan, honestly, because it's a distraction from what our real goal is, I think. We sit back and see all this stuff on the news, but and we talk about this in our sermons and on the radio and everything, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think our goal sometimes we can lose sight of it. What our focus really is, we need to share the gospel of Jesus Christ. This person was. Yes. I don't know what was going on in his mind, if he was depressed or dealing with that sort of stuff, or dealing with thoughts of suicide. But Jesus transcends all of that stuff, and that's our ultimate goal. And this is ultimately a tragedy and something that you never want to see. So
yeah, let me give you this statistic real quick, guys, just to kind of put an end to this. Okay. I just want to give you the absolute numbers. According to the Fatal Encounters, which is a database created by former Reno News and Review editor and journalism instructor Burkhart, which tracks all the death resulting from interactions with police. A total of, now this is back in 2015, obviously, but it's been a little while, but a total of 1,388 people were killed by police that year. 318 of them were black, 560 of them were white. So 23% of those killed by police in interaction were black, just over 40% were white. Now, what they then do is they adjust for racial demographics based on how many of each. But there again, I get what you're saying, but let's just talk, everybody wanted to talk absolute popular vote in the election. Let's talk popular vote here and actual numbers. Now, I will give you this. Sadly enough, that's 1,388 people too many.
Yeah.
But sometimes the police have no choice, and sometimes they do.
Here's the thing. We have to consider the circumstances around that. What was the crime that was committed? Because you're
honestly,
because a lot of times, we hear stories where people just have a tea and some Skittles in their hand and get shot, or in the driver's seat and doing what the police officer asked them to do and get shot. So, and in all fairness, look at this nurse who was just arrested, doing what she's supposed to do, upholding the law according to the hospital policies.
And you're right, but see, where's the outcry? Where's the outcry for this nurse? See, she wasn't part of the LGBTQ community. She wasn't black. At best, she was a woman. The cop was white. Where's the mainstream media outcry on behalf of this woman?
Well, she had the whole hospital administration behind her. She lived to fight another day, and justice is in the process of being.
I'm not denying
served.
that, but I'm talking about the reporting.
Well, it wasn't newsworthy.
It's not going to be there because it's not part of the narrative.
It's not part of the narrative.
It's not part of the narrative.
And I'll point that out because what unintentionally happened to you just a minute ago when you said that when you kind of lumped that cop that shot this young man into that category of being racist, had it been a different race. We have to, as Christians, because believe it or not, this is a Christian show. As Christians, we have to look past that stuff. Although it's hard sometimes.
Yeah, it's hard sometimes.
And I get that. If you've been treated, and I know you have, if you've been treated unfairly by a white police officer at any point in your life, and you're anything other than white, then you're going to have a special fear of that. Yes, definitely.
I mean, I'm going to call it what it is. It's a fear.
And the same could be said, I believe in my heart, for a black cop treating a white person that way. Mm-hmm. The authority. A black teacher, a white teacher. A black principal, a white principal. And even, a black husband, a white husband.
Even a female. I mean, in this instance, it's always seemed like it's the weaker, person. I mean, I just feel that we got to do better. We got to, as Kurt said, we got to reel it back in to what it really is. Call it what it is. It's an attack of the enemy who is faithful to his job. He comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And he's faithful to that assignment. So we as Christians, we got to be faithful to our assignment, and we've been commissioned to go out and teach all nations.
All right. Thank you guys for your thoughts on that. We'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to sound off on us, do so. changeforthat@gmail.com. Use the number 4 or hit us up on Facebook and follow us in our insider community at Change for That.
Change for That. We'll be right back.
Change for That is brought to you commercial free by GG's Landscaping.
Back to the show. Change for That.
And welcome back to the show, Change for That. Visit us online at changeforthat.com, Facebook, and Twitter. Always use the number 4 when typing in the address. Well, guys, Kurt, I know you have something you said during the commercial that you wanted to share, so quickly throw that out there, and then we'll transition into the next conversation.
Okay. We have a men's study on Thursday nights at my church, and there are a couple of different churches that are a part of it, but we were doing a Right Now media study, and in one of the studies, there's a video of this black woman. She grew up in Atlanta, I think is what she said, but the part of town that she grew up in, it was very widely known that the cops there were brutal and racist towards black people, and that was imprinted on her heart all the while she's growing up. And when she kind of moved off from there, she lumped all cops or all white people as being that way. And she ended up getting saved, and God changed her heart on that matter. And she married a white man and had beautiful children by him, and she's just living this blessed life now because of that. And she goes on to say that had she kept that hatred in her heart, that she probably would have missed out on so many different blessings that God had in store for her, had that continued to be a part of her life. So the point of it is, we have to be careful. Sometimes it's no fault of our own, the way that we're raised or the way that we're brought up or the prejudices that we have until God gets a hold of us. But we have to be careful doing that because we miss out on so many good things that God has in store for us when we do that.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you, Kurt, for that, and a good point on that. All right. Let's move on to the next one. We got this request to discuss this from one of our listeners, and this issue deals with current International Mission Board President David Platt, who is going to be voted on as a teaching pastor at McLean Baptist Bible Church. And basically, that's a Southern Baptist church in McLean, Virginia. And basically, the story goes like this: there's a difference of opinion on whether or not the president of an organization as big as the International Mission Board, which is huge, should be spending time as a teacher, preaching pastor. Mm-hmm. And some say no, some say yes. What say you?
Well, looking at the article. Just immediately looking at it, my initial thought was there's no way he can do this passionately and effectively, divide his attention between both of them. But I'm not so sure I feel that way now reading the article. It seems as if Dr. Platt is handling this situation with...
Does he have his doctorate?
Yeah.
Does he?
He does.
I didn't know that.
With integrity.
Man.
But he is. To me, he is. He's handling it with integrity and grace, and he's honest and upfront with everybody involved. And he has involved the Board of Trustees from the very beginning. And what people forget with this is he's been interim there for months. And from the very beginning, as his interim started, he has involved the trustees, and he has told them that he wants them to evaluate his effectiveness going forward with this role. And I'm not sure what that means for his future with the mission board or with this teaching pastor position at this church, but it seems to me like he's handling it the right way, not wanting to be ineffective at either position. Now, it also states in the article that up until this point, he has spent 65% of his weekends
That's right.
at his local church.
No, 35 at the weekend and 65 away during the week.
Well, either or, 65% somewhere and 35% doing his International Mission Board speaking engagements at other places. And what would change with that is instead of at his local church, he would now be spending it at as the teaching pastor here at this church, and still continue to do the 35% at other churches.
So it doesn't change?
Yeah, it doesn't change at all.
Okay, it doesn't change at all.
And,
okay.
and that's kind of what affected my opinion of it going forward, was maybe he can do this effectively and still continue to be an effective president. But again, that just adds another thing to his plate that he's got to deal with.
Well, see,
I'm not sure.
Go ahead.
Here's the thing I have issues with. I agree with you 100%, Kurt, is the way he went into it. He's asking to be held accountable.
Yeah, that's right.
He's asking for accountability to say, hey, this is what I want to do. I want you to evaluate me, keep me on point, so to speak. But I don't think it would be any different than anyone else that has a career and who also pastors a church. You are working your job during the week, and then you have assigned times where you are pastoring or teaching your members and doing that thing on the weekend. How is that any different, I wonder?
Well, I think there's a couple issues that are coming up, and I may be wrong. I'm just using a little, maybe my own opinion here to draw this conclusion. But I think there's some issues here. Number one, I think you've got to think about the division that we talked about the last 2 weeks in the Southern Baptist life, which is the Reformed theology being. And when I had a writer write into us and say, what exactly is this Reformed theology? I know kind of what it is, but how is it any different than the Methodists and the Presbyterians and the different groups and Lutherans? And we could get into all that because all of it came. I mean, we're all Reformed if we're not Catholic. We're all Reformed to some degree because we came through the Protestant Reformation and left the Catholic Church, right? Yeah. But the issue here within the and you have to microscope this down to the world of Southern Baptist life, okay? Largest convention in the United States, but you have to go down to look at this and see where the Southern Baptist Church is being divided. I mean, you had in the last election for president of the SBC, you had a Reformed Calvinist running against a he's not an Arminian, but a non-Calvinist, non-5-point Calvinist, and so. I wonder how many people, and David Platt is a Reformed Calvinist, so I wonder how many people are arguing based upon the fact that they don't like his theology.
Well, I mean, he's a Reformed Calvinist.
Yes.
So that means he used to be a Calvinist, and now he's not?
I'm sorry, we're all Reformed, so we'll just drop the Reformed and say he's a Calvinist. a 5-point Calvinist.
That's the issue.
Right. And I think that's going to bring the non-Calvinists are going to take more issue with who it is, not what it is.
Right.
Now, here, because I'm with you, I think that 35%, 65%, if that's true and that holds true and it doesn't change, I don't know. I mean, I don't see a problem with it. Now, here's something I also want people to understand this, and I'll let you have the last word here. You guys, people are... You can't look at this from church size. Look at this through the lens of churches the size of our churches. Mm-hmm. There is no other teaching pastor at Smith Street. There is no other teaching pastor at Friendship. I don't know how you guys do it down there, but there probably is no other teaching pastor.
We have a senior pastor,
and he preaches.
We have people on ministerial staff.
But he preaches unless he's on vacation or ill or something. He preaches.
That's right. Unless he assigns
or he assigns somebody to do it. And that's the same way. I have a guy in my church I put up at the end of every series. So when I get done doing something, I often, I didn't this time, but I often ask him if he'll preach and he'll come in and fill the pulpit, or when I go on vacation, I let him fill the pulpit. When Kurt was on staff with us, Kurt was the guy who filled the pulpit for me. Mm-hmm. Those situations, when we look at it through that size or that lens, it doesn't make sense to us. But when you go to a church that's the size of McLean, or a church that can hire multiple teaching, they may have a teaching team where they rotate pastors who teach every week, and so he's free. Johnny Hunt is not in First Baptist Woodstock preaching every Sunday. He's probably spending more time away from his church than he actually is in the pulpit of his church.
Well, he's not even receiving a salary to do this.
No.
He's doing this from his heart.
The IMB just pays him too much.
Oh, well, I'm just saying.
I'm teasing, I don't know.
He's like myself. I'm on the ministerial staff at my church. I'm on staff, but I don't receive a salary, no compensation. Whatever I do it from my heart.
But it's still your job. We need to clarify that.
Yes, it is my job. Okay, it is my job.
In case you're ever headed there, to an event.
That's right.
You can still fire a volunteer.
That's right.
That's right.
It is my job, and I do it by calling and by appointment. So
yeah, absolutely. We got 1 minute.
I think the original article that one of our listeners posted, the original issue with this was, is he doing a disservice to the IMB by taking this position? And I just agree with you, Chester, what you said. If that 65-35 holds true, I don't know that he is doing a disservice to the IMB. I think he can probably accomplish this. And the whole thing that he's not taking a salary kind of, it affects me that he's not just doing this for more money.
That's right. That's right.
He's doing this because he feels the Lord's leading him to.
All right.
I think it would be a disservice to the people if he didn't do it.
Well, I can imagine that we've got some listeners that want to sound off and disagree, and they're more than welcome to do it. Let us know. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or send us an email, changeforthat@gmail.com. Use the number 4. Of course, you can always send us private messages. We may not respond to you, but we will definitely read them, because these guys don't hardly respond to me when I send them a private message. And but we do want to sound off and hear from you. Coming up next week, guys, we have as we were recording this show, we had one come in on somebody asking about the Christian perspective to capital punishment. So that'll come up next week right here on Change for That.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Change for That. We'll catch you next time.